Ray. How come Ray's not in the picture?
Well, good afternoon. You've got the right channel. This is Hawaii, the state of clean energy, and I am not Jay Fidel, who's normally your host today. I'm Ray Starling. I'm normally a co-host with Jay, and today we've got Sharon Moriwaki, who is, she's co-chair of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, and both Policy Forum and Hawaii Energy, who I work for, sponsored this program, or we were two of the sponsors. So we're here today, and we've got a great show for you. We've got Sonoda, who is Senior Transformation Specialist at Hawaii Energy. He's going to start off the show by giving us a negawatt moment. I know you've been waiting for that. So, Derrick,
thank you, Ray, and thank you for having me on the show.
Good to have you.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. Well, for our negawatt moment today, how we bring all these offers to the general public, we are actually sponsoring what this gentleman here is going to be talking about today. Hawaii Energy is sponsoring 3 professionally delivered air conditioning training seminars, and that's going to be located in the first week of May. And we are one of the many sponsors. They're going to let this gentleman talk about it. But if you are interested, please go to ifmahawaii.org and you can sign up. It's going to be about chiller systems, HVAC systems in the front part of it, the bigger systems, and package units and air-cooled chillers all on the first day. The second day, we're going to go in-depth into air handling units and variable frequency drive controllers, all involving the HVAC system. On the third day, we're going to be doing energy management systems. How we're setting this up is it's going to be targeted for the people who are involved in that industry. Everywhere from the chief engineer, the facility manager, the property manager, all the way down to the people who are operating every day, as well as the installers and everything else. We want to bring uniformity in the understanding of how important this particular role is into energy consumption or energy savings. And we want everybody to know that you are part of the solution. And I want to start off here.
Wait.
What?
How much does it cost?
Oh, that's the best part.
Yeah.
So IFMA Hawaii has been organizing all of this, and Hawaii Energy was one of their first sponsors. And I'm going to share a little bit about it so he can tell it. What they're trying to do is do something very unique. They want to help a very new facility management program.
Ah.
Yeah. One of the top in the countries who got put in, and he'll explain a little bit about that. But they need some money for scholarships and everything else. So it may sound a little high. It's $335 to get in, but it's a fundraiser. The proceeds will go to the scholarship program. Hawaii Energy is giving so much of it. The balance you come up with is $200 per workshop. And if you're an ASHRAE member, ASHRAE will put in another $100. ASHRAE? ASHRAE is the engineering society that is directly involved with air conditioning equipment. And they've decided that their local chapter here, if their active members participate, they will fund another $100 to go, and it goes only $100. And I just found
if I have a condo and my building manager should go,
yes.
So he would pay $200 or $300?
He would pay $200 if he's not an ASHRAE, but we have another one that just came on board, another funder. What if you're involved with this union, and he's going to talk a little bit about it, that's all invested into the HVAC, the air conditioning system, from the plumbers to the sheet metals.
Yeah.
They will pay the whole $200 for them, and they go in for free because they really see the value in this.
Wow.
So if your property manager didn't do it yet, he should join ASHRAE and then come out to this training. He's going to meet all of his peers. He will not go wrong. He'll actually be very blessed.
So how do we get that information out to people? Is it on a website or
Yeah.
Hawaii Energy or what?
You can come to the hawaiienergy.com website and you'll see it listed on our training sections. And what that will do is link over to the IFMA Hawaii, where they have an in-depth detail. It's for engineers. They want a lot of detail. So there's pages of details about each one of these things. You and I just need the first title and then the cost and the date. We're good. But they need to know a lot more information, so it's there. And they can sign up, and it's all automated.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
Good. And how much does it cost to join ASHRAE?
Oh, that I don't know. We're going to leave that question for this gentleman.
All right. Very good. So who is this gentleman?
Well, yes, this gentleman whose name has not yet been spoken.
But he's really important.
He's very important.
He's very important.
Yes. This is Les Taniyama. And and we've also been talking about IFMA. That's the International Facility Management Association.
You got it.
All right. And Les is one of the people who has really done a lot for IFMA and brought it back to life. It was not as good as it is now, and it's been raising funds and doing lots of great things. And Les is going to tell us about it today. But before we let you do that, I'd like to just tell the audience a little bit about who you are, and then you can fill in any blanks
Sure.
that I leave. But basically, I've known Les for, I figured it was maybe about between 15 and 20 years now. And I met Les back a long time ago when he was doing air conditioning efficiency, back when nobody was talking about air
11
conditioning.
cents a kilowatt hour.
Yes, it was actually, it was started out, it was about 7 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah, back then.
When we first got started, and nobody was interested in efficiency except Les. And he was going around and tweaking everything and fixing things that were using a lot more electricity than they needed to use. And so he got me on the kick of first of all measuring to make sure you know what you're doing. That was a big thing. And you taught me so much about energy efficiency long before I took over the efficiency program. So I was ready for it whenever I took over. So why don't you give us a little bit more about your background that perhaps I don't know?
Thank you, Ray. Very kind words. I'm an electrical engineer from the 70s, early 70s. And electrical engineer, imagine working in the air conditioning industry, which is very, very mechanical and filled with mechanical engineers.
Right,
So
right.
it was a natural affinity for me to hug the one side of the line that's called electrical. And I got involved in energy and understanding how energy was used to produce cooling for our people. Uniquely, way back then, we were both learning about energy efficiency because what I learned is purely academic, and we got our hands dirty.
Yep.
We did some projects and we figured out how to make things a little more efficient than it was yesterday, and I think that was my start. And I had the passion for it, and I continued. I'm a charter member of the Association of Energy Engineers. Now, that's probably why I have so many gray hairs. But my background has been in engineering for all of my life, and more recently, in the last, I say recently, over the last 20, 25 years, I've been doing engineering and engineering design and energy auditing and doing all phases of energy, including, like you said, measurement. Because I'm a strong believer, if you're not measuring it, remember that?
I remember.
We cannot manage it.
That's right.
You know, it's like an accountant without books.
It was true 20 years ago, and it is so true today. And that's one reason
More so.
why we've got you on the show, because you've kind of gotten into an area where you're helping other people now to understand that which you've made your living at
Yes.
over the years. And that's the thing that we're wanting to talk about today, what you've done to bring more education to the people who are facility managers, to help them do their jobs better.
That's correct. What I've found is in my process of doing audits and doing finally design work and actually walking it through into construction and actually implementation, we've achieved quite a bit of savings over the years, as much as 20-30% on the average for most of our projects. And we're very proud. We even have one at 49%. Uniquely, my design team was a little upset because I didn't get that 1%, so they couldn't say half.
49% is
Close
good
to
enough.
half.
Yeah, so
That's good enough.
we've done some great things, but it was at a cost, Ray. The cost is I couldn't do it in a simple fashion because a lot of measurement was required. We need to understand how things operated and what our adjustments would result in what results. And if we aren't saving energy while proceeding with the function of the process, then it doesn't make sense. So we were in a dilemma because we're turning over these projects to people, operators, the actual facility people that didn't have much education, to be quite honest with you. Some of them came to the ranks and started off even as janitors and
Right.
plumbers and electricians, and some
Yeah.
were engineers, but most of them were not electrical engineers or mechanical engineers. Most of them were civil engineers, and I even have one that I know that's a landscape architect.
And before electric prices went up, you know, the main thing you wanted to do as a facility operator is just keep the air conditioning on, right? And so you
Absolutely.
weren't too concerned about how much energy you were using, and so we kind of got wasteful. I mean, we learned to
The word is
not
complacent.
pay attention to it, right?
Very complacent. You know,
Very
it's
complacent.
as long as I can pay the bill, what's the problem?
Right.
And the problem is, well, we had an embargo and we had a few things happening close to 2008, and I think everybody knows that history. Crude oil hit over $100 a barrel, if you remember correctly.
Right.
Yeah, we were very happy here at 20, 30, and even $40 a barrel. But you
Right.
know, in 2008 it hurt. So again, we can make it more efficient, especially when the embargo hit and the cost was high. A good project we had in downtown Waikiki, we had a change order of $5 million, but it yielded less energy by increasing 42% of square footage in the building, and we maintained the same energy use. And 1 year later, 9/11 came by, and the tourists didn't come. So they were very, very happy that we did the project because they wouldn't be able to keep the doors open. So this is what it's all about. You know, it's at the end of the day, the electric bill is the largest bill they have to pay every month, 12 months out of the year. And that being said, if 50% HVAC is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning of a building, on the rule of thumb is 50%, that's a big number. So if a high-rise building here in downtown is spending $1 million, that means $500,000 is going toward air conditioning.
That's right.
That's a big
Yes.
number. So these are some of the things we're concentrating on because small differences make big differences.
All right. Tell you what, we want to get Sharon and Derrick to jump in, but we're going to take a quick break so you can catch your breath, and we'll come back and start throwing some questions at you.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
We'll be-
Aloha, this is Reg Baker. I'm the host of Business in Hawaii. We air every Thursday at 2 o'clock on thinktechhawaii.com. We broadcast from the ThinkTech studios in downtown Honolulu, and we talk about positive and successful companies in Hawaii. People that have been successful despite the obstacles. They all have a good story to tell. Hopefully we'll see you on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Aloha.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, citizen journalism from Hawaii, finding the intersection of our sense of place and our place in the world, right here at home. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.
Aloha, my name is Richard Emery, and I host Condo Insider. We talk about issues facing the condo association throughout Hawaii and talk about solutions. When you think about it, about 1/3 of our population lives in some form of common interest real estate. We broadcast every Thursday at 3 p.m. Please tune in, and thank you. Aloha.
All right, we're back with you. Hawaii, the state of clean energy. We've got Les Taniyama with us today, and we've talked about everything but the thing that we wanted to talk to him about today. And I'm going to let Sharon and Derrick start asking some questions about IFMA and what's going on in that part of your life.
Okay.
Well, tell us about what facilities management does and why it's so important for them to be trained knowledgeably about energy efficiency, because we don't usually think of our building manager, you know, as an energy czar
Well,
of the building.
I think it was really nice that Ray led us down this path of many years of go and matriculating in this energy and energy efficiency, because there aren't too many people like me. I mean, there's very few, in fact. And especially when you did it when energy was cheap, it wasn't sexy enough to learn.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
So
true.
that being said, here we are. We have issues with facilities, and they have large, costly equipment. It may take as much as $3 to $5 million for a commercial office building to change the chiller plant. Now, here lies $3 to $5 million of an asset, and we're finding the head of maintenance, if you may, or the chief engineer being paid like $15 an hour. And I'm wondering if he even has the $15 worth of knowledge. That's what we're trying to do with IFMA, is raise that bar of education with the facility people so that they will be more capable of handling that equipment and being able to look after that asset. I mean, we're talking $3 to $5 million asset. We need the owners and managers of these buildings to take ownership of this equipment and understand they need to invest in the people that use that equipment, because you know what? Equipment does not use energy. Guess who does? People.
Right.
Yes, the people.
That's true.
And that takes me to my question.
Oh no, he's gonna ask me a
No,
hard
no, not a hard question. But I know you've been involved with all the things that are happening in Hawaii so long, and you put in like millions of dollars of equipment throughout the state of Hawaii for the years. After you spec it out, after you go ahead and you install it, what do you find is the hardest part about that whole process to ensure energy savings happens when you go and work with a facility?
Well, the commissioning process, which I do on my own projects, we make sure that as we design the project and as we install it, and now turn it over, prior to turning it over to the ownership, we want to make sure that equipment is designed the way I prescribe it. So we go through a number of processes to make sure that that happens so that we can ensure the levels of savings.
So just so that everybody in the audience understands what you're saying, so to equate the iPhone with a regular old-fashioned cell phone, would you say the level of understanding of the equipment has evolved to the complexity of today's modern phone?
Absolutely.
Yes.
The facility manager back in the day would come in and just push a button and walk away, and it would hum and make a lot of noise, but it would cool the building. Today, because we want to do things more efficiently, it's a little more complex, and we have issues, and we don't have a static life and static weather. So it needs to adjust according to how the building adjusts and according to how the weather adjusts around it. And they need to understand that. Instead of bypassing things, as long as they hear it on, they think it's air conditioning the space, but maybe not so efficiently. So
So
it takes a high level of knowledge.
Like sometimes, we go in, the room is freezing cold and nobody can adjust.
You said
Okay.
UH,
Oh, sorry. Institution. Yes.
well, it's okay, it's okay.
You go into and
It's okay,
freezing cold.
because I
and
find that in even commercial office buildings. And what we do is we do an initial audit. And what the audit will prescribe is I literally walk through the building and I measure temperatures. What a concept. Otherwise I can't manage it if I don't measure it, right? So if it's cold, one of my measuring tools uniquely was one of those things that you count people coming through the door, those little clickers. And I would go around and count sweaters on the back of chairs.
Wow,
And I would
yeah,
say,
that's good.
oh my God,
Must
there
be
might
cold
be
in here.
yeah, just on this floor alone, I got 50 sweaters.
Wow.
And then, I could tell it was cold. So just by backing off the air conditioning, we can save energy. And we've done that.
Sharon, I know a little bit about Les's background. He's the only forensic engineer that I know of in the state of Hawaii. And what that means to everybody else, which means if there is a problem in a facility or some kind of design, or there was an explosion, for example, the first person the lawyers would call up is Mr. Taniyama. And his wife Jan, and they would figure out what went wrong. So when he says audit, I just want to make sure that the audience knows it's not the audit that most people do. When he says audit, it's at a whole different level of an audit.
The sweater audit.
The sweater audit, no, but even more than that.
That really is good.
I want to coin that,
Behaviors.
and have it my
The
coin.
sweater audit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's much more than that.
No, that's good.
So this really all of these topics brought us to what are we going to do, Jan? And Jan is not only my wife, but the president of our firm. And I said, we're building and designing and operating these magnificent buildings that's saving a lot of energy. But I come back a year later and it's tweaked out of commission and wasting energy again. And how do I keep them online? And we have to educate the people.
So how does it get out of, I mean, so it's just that people aren't managing it, or people just let it run down, or, I mean, what is the cause of it going offline?
Oh, I can do that a little bit.
Oh, okay.
There's certain people, in the audience and that use the building that are really very assertive and really want it right now.
Yeah.
And then the chief engineer is not around, so the regular staff
do
is
it?
there.
They do
Yeah,
it?
these
Oh.
people just call them up and just boss them around, and they go over there and make sure they're happy. You know any
yeah.
bossy people like that?
No.
No, okay. Just wondering. But that's what happens. It's real life, yeah? The
Yeah,
customer
yeah,
is not
yeah,
happy,
yeah,
and you have to make
yeah.
that customer happy.
Nice.
So Derrick,
So-
really this whole scheme of things
Yes.
led me into IFMA because someone introduced us here. We had a little lackluster IFMA presence here a few years ago, and what I saw in IFMA was different from what they saw in IFMA. The biggest problem with associations here in Hawaii, it's not money. We're not fighting for money, it's time. How can we get professionals to join an association
Right.
and fight for my cause if, how many of these 1 hour lunches can they go to, right?
Right.
So we decided to invest. And what we did was we went to Phoenix, Arizona to their national conference. And all I can say is Jan said, I understand. This institution, IFMA, International Facility Management Association, believes in teaching and educating our people that will maintain the facilities.
What an idea. Wow.
What a
Yeah,
concept.
I know.
And then she started studying and she said, Les, according to the internet and according to IFMA, there's only 9 baccalaureate degree programs throughout the United States to teach facility managers how to do their job, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right, good. Yeah.
Then I went further and I looked down the road in the internet and I said, it gets even worse. 99.9% of the facility managers throughout the country were not educated to do their job as a facility manager. And half of them will retire in the next 5 to 10 years. And most of them came from a lowly position to the position they were at, but it took them 30 to 40 years. We can't wait 30 to 40 years. We need people in the next 10 years. Granted, the graduate from our program won't be able to fill the shoes on the first day of work, but at least they have a head start. And that's what we're trying to do.
That's great.
Some of the things that I read a little bit online is it's not limited to the United States. This is a global issue where people of the same generation are going to retire, but the buildings have become so sophisticated, so glamorous, that none of the new generations want to be the guy with the big keys and walk around as the glorified janitor because they don't know any more than that. So that's where IFMA comes into play. When I read 60,000 members around the globe,
Wow.
yeah, almost every single country is participating in this. There's a huge need. So Les hit it, and Les and Jan both hit it right on the head. There is a huge disconnect between what everybody in policy is trying to accomplish with energy savings so you can get it installed. But once it's in,
And upkeep. Yeah.
who runs it? It's the guys who nobody talked to
Right.
and hasn't educated, which is where Hawaii Energy steps in, and we're looking for those gaps.
Okay, since you said that, what happened then was Jan brought back information, and she went out to University of Hawaii at Manoa, and they had no use for the program because they
Oh, they're more in academic.
academia and into more look at research, and it wasn't their thing. So she went out and met through some friends the people at University of Hawaii West Oahu, which have no inkling, no desire of being in research. And amazing thing happened. We met this Sherry Proper. Miss Sherry Proper is she has this fancy name to say, we're going to lead the university in a certain direction by utilizing these programs. And one of them she heard about was facility management. We talked about it. And at the same time, they had this one gentleman out of the, from the Navy.
From the
Office
Navy.
of Navy Research, Naval Research.
She's been a great friend to the islands, funding a lot of projects.
So Mr. Ching came by and was walking with Sherry about doing STEM projects on the campus and doing this and doing that. And Sherry said, oh, by the way, we're thinking about starting this facility management program because we feel that the facility managers today need assistance in getting to a higher level of understanding of what processes go on in facilities. And he said, I can do that. And he actually made this statement. We have the strongest and most intelligent Navy and armed forces in the world sitting here, smack dab in Hawaii. And shame on us
Not using
if our
resource.
facilities don't meet that same level of performance.
Wow, exciting.
So along with donations from Hawaii Energy to kickstart this program to look into it, they kicked in another $200,000 to help us.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Ooh, really? How
And, you know-
exciting, that.
And it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So we challenged Jan to find out more information. She went to the Next World Workplace, and that was in Texas, I believe, and she brought back information, and she said, here, Sherry, here's all that information. And in 2 years, we have a program. Fall of 2015, we have
And
a
we're going to
facility
talk about it
management
next
program.
month on workforce development.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So,
But I'm gonna just share one more thing before we go to break, in case we do. Normally, it takes the university, since, because how long
Yes?
does it take
Oh,
to stand up a
years,
degree?
Years.
So
And
they,
then-
for this gentleman and Sherry, they stood it up in less than 3 years. They got the president of this global association to fly to Hawaii and have a meeting at UH West Oahu. The president of a 60,000 member association came
Fantastic.
because it was unheard of for somebody to stand up a degree program
years.
that quickly.
Great.
So they have risen to the top.
Yeah, fantastic. So what is the degree program? It's facilities management.
It is, how we used to have majors and minors before. Now this is more like a minor in facility management. And I'm
Under-
glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
Well, right now we're attaching it to a business program and coming upstream into the program, but we can also bring on the science side or the engineering aspects and feed it. So we have multiple avenues into the program.
Wow.
What's even more important is what can we get from the program? The program will allow the student, as they graduate, to have ability in finance, in property management, in project management, understand energy, IT. We have operation and maintenance and leasing, and it's unbelievable.
Wow.
So
Are you a little excited about this?
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm passionate.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
We're going to take a break.
He's excited.
Okay.
But we're going to come back.
Okay.
We'll be right back with you.
Hey, Derrick, don't you want
Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I host Sustainable Hawaii at thinktechhawaii.com, which streams live educational and civic engagement on the internet and Oceanic Channel 16. I love doing this show because it's an opportunity to be able to share some of the good news as well as the pressing issues for Hawaii and the world about climate change, climate justice, and sustainability, and the need to start employing and continue to request sustainable policy initiatives and actions on the part of our decision makers here and abroad. So I hope you'll tune in with me every Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. as we try and engage you, share a lot of very interesting people's work and perspectives, and perhaps turn you on to taking action for sustainability. Mahalo and aloha.
And we're back with you. It's Wednesday and it's Hawaii, the state of clean energy. And we're rocking and rolling here with Les Taniyama, who was in the middle of talking about the IFMA program that he's been working on here recently. And let me get this thing churning again because we were
On a
we were
roll.
really going. Yeah, so, tell us what kind of person would you be looking for to enter into this kind of a program? Would it be someone who's an older person who's had on the job training, or would it be like a young student who wants to pursue a career in facility management?
I'm actually looking at a dual role into the program, and I'm looking for that young person that wants a future in facilities management or some facet of what you can do with a facility management degree. Because you can go into real estate, you can do into IT or security. That's all part of facility management, including HR, imagine that. But then the bulk of our workforce, not the bulk, 100% of our workforce today are those working men today. What do we do about them 40-year-old, people that's doing the job? Well, University of Hawaii, and in partnership with IFMA, has created a ability to provide credentials. And what credentials does is accelerate their understanding of certain concepts of facility management, and will be able to give them credentials to hold them at a higher level and hopefully help them in their job.
So Les, one of the big concepts that you've added into this mix is the energy conservation, and that as a facility manager, I press whatever, and then I make sure the employees are paid, and I make sure that somebody's doing the grounds. But what is that layer that you've brought to it in terms of energy conservation, energy efficiency, that now the building manager and the staff, hopefully he trains his staff, now have
At his level is at a higher level, and it's the biggest bill in the building. He needs to understand how it's used. And, it has to happen. He needs to understand and direct his staff into getting this done, So this is why Sherry at University of Hawaii West Oahu decided to really diligently engage IFMA into the whole process, because somewhere down the line, we got to make sure the program is going to last. To do that, we need accreditation. And IFMA Foundation provides that. So we need to have that top level. And our credentials here are ANSI certified. So to answer your questions, a lot of these little tidbits work into that sector that I'm trying to enhance and support, because without understanding how the big picture works, the system, after you push the button, you can't make it efficient if you don't know what happens after you push the button.
Right.
So there's a number of layers of processes that you have to understand, and understanding all of it as a whole. So it took me all these years, and we can't wait for these facility managers to learn it. We just don't have time.
And this facility management, buildings are a big part of where our energy is going.
Oh, it's
So,
huge.
so in terms of the bulk of what's happening, is that will make a big movement toward our 100% goal, right? Clean energy. And so it all kind of works together.
If I could be so bold and just expand your definition, you probably may not be thinking about this, but facility management includes water and wastewater treatment centers,
Right,
includes
so
the airports, the municipals, all of those. It's all the big consumers that we have in the state on all the islands, yeah? So this is where they've hit it right in the target zone. If we help this, if we have limited funds, if we have limited times, if we help this industry that the Taniyamas have identified, we will make the biggest long-term difference by getting people who are born and raised here that are not even looking in this direction an opportunity for
Right.
advancement in careers. One of the things that I have in my background is my son goes to Kamehameha. And when they try and install any kind of new curriculum, they try and put it towards the fundamentals that Hawaiians have for sustainability, how you take care of the lands, the resources. But the landscaping has changed. We don't have a lot of farms anymore. We don't have a lot of vegetation. If you look around the landscape, it's buildings. So if we can have people with value systems that we all have being raised here on the island, now taking care of the facilities with that mindset of being mindful,
That's a good concept, yeah.
it would be amazing what we could achieve. So they invited me the other year to go to the national convention, and they've been talking to me, and I had an understanding. I was blown away at how many people were there. There was almost 7,000 people. They made me walk the largest convention center ever in the world. It's 1 mile long, but it was filled. But one of the things that I found is that what the rest of the people are struggling with is what Hawaii does the best. What they were struggling with is, because we have airplanes and everything else, they couldn't communicate multiculturally with multi-generations effectively about conservation and efficiency. That was a big barrier for them. But guess what Hawaii is made up of? Multicultural, so we already have a head start. They can look from us. But when I heard everybody's struggles and all the solutions, that was all of my friends and the chief engineers. All of their problems were all being educated at this arena. And there was only us there from Hawaii and one other gentleman that we found by accident representing Hawaii in this huge global conference. It was kind of sad that we didn't find more Hawaii people there. But it's a resource that we just need to make aware.
I think because we haven't thought of facilities managers as being that kind of linchpin in all of this,
You're right. It's not that guy with the rag in his back pocket anymore.
Yeah.
He has to have
It's
a
changed,
much higher level of understanding.
And the end result can really be facilities management becomes a profit center, basically, because you were using this much to power your building.
Absolutely.
And suddenly you're using this much, that much becomes,
Well,
goes into the profit bucket. Right?
Well, we talked about the different areas which a facility manager, once he goes through this program, will have at his as his assets. We have the finance and the accounting and the budget and finance of all those things. We have the technical area that he has to understand. So has a breadth of information. Now, if you take that savings from water, sewer, and electricity, all of a sudden it's not a reduction in expense. It almost becomes an income stream.
Yes.
So it's understanding those concepts is right now foreign to the facility managers in most of the facilities throughout not only Hawaii, throughout the world.
Well, you got to change that maintenance word, right? It's really management, or it's not facility maintenance. It's really facilities management, or it's something more than, right?
Yes.
So when you look at it, you say, oh, he's just managing the building, right? But it's not. It's really trying to make the building more sustainable, trying to make the building better than, it's enhancing the building.
It's maintaining and or improving the asset of the property.
Yeah.
And we're talking the whole property.
Right.
Not just managing rent roll and making sure we have tenants. We're talking about the entire asset. Whether it's the floor carpet or the tile outside or the air conditioning or LED lighting. We got LED lighting in here. You get an A for that.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, we were talking, I'll just briefly mention, we were talking about this during the break, but the lights in here, which you can't
was
see on
really
TV, but there are
hot.
lights all over the place. These are all LED lights, and just a few years ago, Jay had
changed them?
incandescent lights, which
It was so hot. If you were
it
sitting
was
here,
so
you'd be
hot.
like
You'd
perspiring.
be just sweat rolling down, and it's almost cold in here
Yeah,
now
I know.
because the lighting load
just
is
with the
not
LED lights.
Like
not
what
there
they,
anymore.
yeah.
So yeah.
So you bring up a good avenue to this one thing that Les had shared with us before the show started. There's so many people who want to help, but we really need people like the Taniyamas, CEMs, or certified energy managers, because it's more than the simple basic knowledge of changing a light bulb. You need to know the interactions of different components within a whole system, right? Everything is like that.
Right.
But nobody ever considers a building as a whole system. So Les shared with us, if you go in blindly to a facility and you say, change all the light bulbs, we always think of energy savings from the light bulb, but there is another one, and I want him to share that story because it was very enlightening.
Well, we did a little.
Enlightening.
We were doing a project on a particular site, and it was a library. And library has books. And library uniquely has certain conditions that are very stringent because it needs to be very dry. And to make it dry, we have to what we call dehumidify the space, yank out the moisture out the space. But the only way we can do that is through air conditioning. But uniquely, if the room gets too cold, we gotta cut back on air conditioning. So if you reduce the heat load due to lighting in a space like a library by changing all of their fluorescent to LED, it does affect how the function of the air conditioning works. So, all I'm saying here is the energy manager or the facility manager specifically needs to have that global look on things and understand that, hey, maybe we better incorporate multiple things with the project so we don't disturb the function of the room.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
So yeah, that interaction is
Yeah.
important. So this is where this education process can really help. And the reason why I say that is the number one thing from my own personal perspective that stops energy efficiency from happening is communications. The engineers, the facility people cannot keep up to the fancy words and the high education levels of some of the people that they have to report to. And then comes along sustainability people who come across with all these degrees. They don't have this technical knowledge, but they want to do this. But the chief engineer, they can't keep up with that terminology. They can't write eloquently. They get overlooked and this situation will happen, and then you would have the detriment of mold.
Nice.
So we,
But it is green though.
so we're very excited because I think we stirred the pot a little, and we've gotten a lot of excitement amongst our peers, our own peers, and we've gotten tremendous response to our efforts in what we're trying to do. We're coming up with this educational class as a fundraising event for the people that actually work the equipment, provide the equipment, service the equipment, and the managers to come to a class and learn about air conditioning. We're bringing in David Wiley from San Diego. He's a teacher, and he's been doing this for the last 20 years throughout the West Coast, and wonderful. He's a good friend of mine. But more importantly is we couldn't have pulled this off without, number one, Hawaii Energy assisting us by making it more inviting to come and providing people the advantage of coming to this class and learning with us. Because remember what I said? Equipment does not use energy, it's people. These are the people that will be using the energy, and they're going to be educated about air conditioning. 50% of your bill in your building,
true.
right? Okay,
Right.
so
It is true.
we got Hawaii Energy first kicking in, and then I talked to my friends at Hawaiian Electric Company, and they said, it's a good program. We want in. They donated not only money and cash, but they providing all the venues for our teaching, training rooms. And they printed all the printing material, the actual work for each student, which is a huge cost. Then we went around town and, before I go any further, the present IFMA people, I want to shout out to them because without them, I couldn't have done it. We have people like with Johnson Controls.
They could be an award winner, if some kind of venue or platform.
We have.
They could, yeah.
We have for this.
Oh, you do?
You have to. You have
Wow.
to. Put in nomination.
Oh, what a coincidence. Yeah.
Okay.
So we also have.
Let's let him finish his.
So
his
we have
list
Johnson
because- yeah.
Controls. Sterile Air is another individual that's been helping us, and Island Controls as well as my company, Power and Systems Inspection Group, engineering firm. We also got Alamona Hotel helping us with the room and board for the people. Not totally, but they're helping. We got
Ashray.
BOMA, Building Owners and Managers Association. They're the users. They're
They're the ones who benefit.
the rubber does meet the road there. And then we got ASHRAE, which is the people that is the Association of Air Conditioning Contract Engineers.
That's the one that you have to be licensed with them. Or
They're
member.
licensed engineers, and you have to be a member. So the last one, we just got PAMCA. That's the Plumbers and Mechanical Contractors Association. They
Wow.
believed in what unbelievable letter, brought tears to my eyes. They said, this program is really what the operators and users and us as supplier of labor need.
Wow, that's
And-
great. Oh, we're going to talk more about that right next month.
Okay,
Mark,
great.
of
Okay,
course.
you're right, you're right.
Helps to wind this thing up. We really, really appreciate your being
exciting.
with us
Did the 45
today.
minutes go already?
Yeah.
Yes, this is the man. Look at him, folks. This is the
Yes,
man
yes.
who made
Yeah, right.
efficiency sexy.
And Jan back there, she didn't want to come down. Yes.
Yeah.
IFMA-hawaii.org. Please sign up.
When is it
There you
again?
go.
When is it?
May 2, 3, and 4.
And if you want,
And you'll
to-
see me there. I'll autograph anything you want.
Very good, very good. And look for you in May.
May.
Do you know what the
May
date?
11th.
May
May 11th.
I wrote it down.
Okay,
Okay.
good, good.
Work
Thank
for
you
us
so
in the
much.
future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon and
Wow.
Derrick, for being with us today, and we will see you next week.